Well guys, today we're going to be working on the carburetor of this 07 Prowler, and maybe not all at once, but we're also going to be working on this Arctic Cat 500 carburetor as well. It's like a tank, but it's been sitting for a while, so we're going to have to work on these carburetors. This one, it's leaking right out of the bowl at the bottom of the carburetor, on the bottom section where the float and the float needle are, and a lot of times they'll get stuck, especially if they get gummed up. And then that one just quit running on me. I think I just got some dirt down the jets. So let me show you what we're gonna do to this one first. Get to the engine and carburetor area. It's got a little latch up here and it comes loose. Let's see, you got a battery, and in a sense that releases this plastic area to come up. We're gonna do the same thing to the other side first. Same thing, grab the latch, pull it up, that releases it there. On this side you'll have your tools, but again, the plastic is released. And you literally just lift it up. And there we go. And I can already smell the gas. Right there on the bottom, this whole thing on the bottom section is the bowl. That's where the float and the float needle reside. So in order to get to it, we'll take this breather and a few other connections here and remove it. And it's as simple as cleaning it up and hopefully getting it unstuck. And now if I do have to rebuild it, or if I see something damaged, I'll know what parts to get. Sometimes instead of just ordering parts, it's best to look before you spend a bunch of money. So it's gonna get a little loud as we crank the engine, but this is one way to see what's happening. Well guys, it pays to check things out. If you notice my finger right here, it's getting wet right up here. That's not the float, it's not the bowl. Got a loose hose. That is a win-win. So we're gonna get a little clamp, tighten that up, and we'll check the hose. It may be cracked. Last time I smelled fuel and I looked at the bowl, it seemed to be all wet down here and dripping. But it may just be this hose right here. And that's why you don't go ordering parts until you check things out. Not that I've always done that. All right, let me put this camera down for a second, undo this hose. I'll show you a little more in a second. So first I'm going to show you this clamp. This is one of those OEM clamps. As you can see, it's got these little ridges and a little hump right there where my fingernail is. These two ridges slide over or get squeezed over and lock in right there. So if you want to ever remove them, just get a screwdriver and pry it loose. I couldn't do that while holding the camera, but I wanted to show you how that works. Now, this clamp seems to be in pretty good shape, and they are pretty good. But let me show you the hose. I was suspecting that it might have some cracks. It does not. However, you can see how it's indented. So what I'm going to try to do is cut it right here and replace the clamp on this section and see if that helps. If that does not, or it doesn't seem to be stopping the leak, I know it's not a cracked hose, it's just not enough pressure and the clamp has just gotten too old. Okay, so I cut that piece off. We're starting off fresh, and we're going to reinstall. Okay, there it is back on. I literally just took a pair of these needle nose and squeezed at the tip end. Now comes the moment of truth. Did we just save a bunch of money by simply cutting a little strip of that hose that had enough give? Let's find out. As you noticed last time, it started leaking pretty quick. No more leak. Now this hose is actually not original. I replaced it a couple of years ago, so it's not as old as the unit. Now I don't have the smell of fuel like I've been smelling, so it's fixed. By the way, just a little extra tip that I thought of: if you do have one of these machines, as you noticed, it cranks right away. It would not crank very good whenever it sits for over a week. And because if you follow the fuel line, it actually goes down. This is the actual tank down here. So it actually has to travel up, and the fuel pump really works hard trying to get it all the way back up to get the carburetor primed. And this one doesn't have a way to really prime it well. Not to mention, even if it did, that plastic cover you saw me take off, you'd have to remove both seats, the cover, just because it's been sitting for a couple of days. So I'm tilting the bed so you can get a better view to the breathers for the transmission, the engine, etc. Here, this far one over here is for the carburetor for the engine. One thing that my son-in-law taught me is if you put your hand, it seems to suck the fuel a lot quicker. Don't know how it works. All really you have to do is crank it, and as you crank it, just place my hand there and cover that breather, that air intake, and within 2-3 seconds it starts to crank. Of course, you got to then give it gas, but it'll crank a lot quicker. It helps prime it. Something I did not know, and he taught me that, so I got to give credit to my son-in-law Dustin. Thank you, Dustin. But if you have a machine similar to this, it kind of works the same way and you have trouble starting it, try doing that. And while I've got y'all listening, changed the axles not too long ago. I'm going to say under a year, and there's a video out of that. I'm not happy with the product that I bought, so do not buy. If you watch that video, I believe it was, and I'm not into dogging companies, but you know, this stuff is not cheap. And they're already cracking. The boots on the axles are already cracking. I bought 4 of them. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but that is a new, fairly new axle. Shouldn't be cracked. The OEMs lasted for years. That is not cool, and they're all doing that. So that's unacceptable. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is, in the original video, I had the axles swapped the wrong way. I put on the wrong side. So there you go. Easy fix on the fuel, how to prime it, and my axle issues on this thing that I had. And the reason I changed the axles was because of those boots being old and cracking. Anyway, I'm gonna put this thing back together, and if I have time, I'll see if I can work on the tank. I will make a video on that if I have time. All right, guys, y'all take care. Catch you on the next one.